Stephen and everyone, it's Monday, it's history, and I want no football. No football whatsoever. I really don't, because I want to get through this history. This carries on from last week. And, you know, it's unfair to people who want to know the history side of the city. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. Loads of history, if I might. So I'll still read out your comments, you know what I mean? But please, no football. Don't say it. Listen, I know this is not, I'm digressing from the normal show. And then you go on about football. Let's see what you've been saying. Went to dentist today, by the way. Had a way too much fun in Detroit. Both shows went really well. Saw so many old friends too. And that's from Dennis Paparak all the way from Alligator Land, Tampa Bay in Florida. Hiya, Dennis. Big old Frank in chat says the TW, thank you, T. And thank you again for what he says. Like, share, hype, I think that is. Subscribe, people. Thank you. Thank you so much. Even if Frank and everyone says the lovely little Linda. Hiya, Linda. "41 years ago today, Live Aid. Wow, where's that gone?" Says Carlyle. 41 years. Wow. When I went to the dentist today, he said, "You've got good teeth for your age." I said, "Thanks very much." That's what he said. And great. I tell you what, from the last lot, these were superb. He treated me with so much respect. See, there was loads of stairs going up to, like wherever you get your teeth done. And downstairs as well, there's downstairs. Flat. And they see me coming in. They went. So what they did, they moved where I was supposed to be going upstairs to the level one, ground level one. And I thought, thank you. Smashing that. And put it this way, I'll say this. It'll be around 1,400 quid cheaper than the last one. 1,400. So that'll do me. But I've got to give them an answer anyway. After my operation next month. And they wish me all the best. He said, "We'll see you soon. Let us know and we'll do your tooth." I said, "Okay, thanks." Billy, hiya, Billy. Gonna say to Franco, I hope you're well. Looking forward to tonight's history show. Hello, everybody. Hiya, Bella. Hiya, Bella. Hiya, Frank and all the chat. Says Raphael, our Italian friend from Napoli. It could be cousins. Can everyone use caps to help Frank, please? Says little Linda. Thank you, Linda. And Linda says, "My daughter was born Live Aid Day." Oh, go away. So you missed it all, eh? Adamant. Remember that, Stevie going, did you see that running up and down? Who is he? Hands and the ants. What was he all about? And then I says, you don't see that. That's come up on me. Right. Dennis says, oh, come on, give me a break. You can't see all this. I can. And Dennis says, 41 years ago, I was attending the US Navy nuclear power and propulsion school just up from here in Orlando near the Mouse. Up all went well with the dentist mate. Just got buzzed by AF-18. Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, mate. It did go well. Made up with what I've seen. Really. Cedric. All the way from Hollywood. Got Hollywood. I've got Tampa. Evening, Cedric, says the tea. I think you're going to enjoy tonight. Stephen Holland. Hi, Frank and Chatters. Hiya, Stephen. Right, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about lots of things, actually. Lots of things. But can I just mention these lovely people? These lovely people. It's Gap Rating Services. They sponsor every single one of the podcasts that I do, every one of them. And it's great, because it does cost money. It doesn't, you have to pay for it. We have to anyway. And they help us along. They help Jason and I along. Because I don't ask for anything. I think it's unfair. Because it's people just tuning in. And you get other pods, having super chats and things like that. I don't believe in that. I don't believe it. Especially like my pods, I'm doing the history of Liverpool and people join in to listen to it. And also the podcast of football. They're all Liverpool supporters who join in. And, it's wrong to chat. It's wrong not to read all the comments out. But that's just me. That's just me. And that's Gap Rating Services, sponsors of every single one I do. Not only that, if you're elderly or if you're an NHS worker or if you know anyone in those categories, tell them not to struggle, Peyton. Get these in, because they get a special discount. And if you don't even, if you're not elderly or working for the NHS and you want to do some decorating, just get them in and let them give you a price without any obligation whatsoever. Please do that. That's Gap Rating Services. I can't see, It's a bit awkward for me with this. There you go. Hello. And Toscana. Hiya, Toscana. Want to say to Franco and Chatters, looking forward to some of my history. One of my favourite subjects at school a long, long time ago. Great to hear about the dentist. Yeah, really, I was quite pleased over it, to be honest, Toscana. Got 41 years live. How good was Freddie Mercury and Queen? What a performance. What a showman. He just knew how to play the audience, says Raphael. Yes, he was brilliant. Freddie. And you had some bums like that Adamant. What was he all about? Even now. Anyway. Toscana to Raphael. I can only remember Freddie and the rest of the Queen and rest of Queen. He was royalty for me. Not that lot down in London. My old mate Paul, God bless him, he's always away, this fella. Because even in Frank and chat, sorry being missing in action and all for a bit. Hope you are well. Listen to press conference this morning already. Yeah, I like what he's saying. Cathy sends her best. What did I say? Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Paul. Totally agree with you. But that's for another night, I'm afraid. I won't be having any pods tomorrow because, everybody will be looking at the semi-final. Definitely won't be looking at having one on Wednesday. Again, everybody will be looking at the final. So I suppose you'll be made up that I won't be doing it. I won't be on the screen talking like whatever I'm talking about. But I do really want to crack on with this because and Dennis says, you'll be missed, Frank. Yeah. I'll miss you as well, to be honest. It's not how much we have, but how much we enjoy that makes happiness. That's a cracker, that. Like that. Yeah. Yeah. Have I missed any comments? I like that. I like that little comment there. Toscana says, Raphael. Made me laugh. Me, not a Royal Family fan neither. Suppose I'm a Republican. As long as you're not a Donald Trump Republican. You two were good in the day. Live Aid, Poet. I remember those. I remember them. I think they were in LA or somewhere. And they tried to do it a rooftop. But you ever remember that? Failed miserably. Guys, imitate the Beatles. You'll never get a rooftop thing ever. I don't like Bono. Don't like his political views. I don't like anything about him. I'm being honest. Because even if Frank and fellow chatters hope you're well and hope Natasha you're okay after last week's says Stephen. Yes, cracking comment. I feel for this man, it always goes in threes, doesn't it? Sam Neill, one of my faves. Lovely man, apparently. Just a lovely. I told you I met him, remember? I had a group of people and I was up by Rodney. Well, it was in Rodney Street and it was chocker. And this fella came up to me, he said, listen, you can't walk down. I said, why? They said, can't you say it? I went, oh, yeah. And he was all film people. And I went, okay. And I said to the group, I said, I'm awfully sorry. And when I was looking over a bit more, I seen Sam Neill. Now, I've never seen 1 minute of, Peaky Blinders. I was going to say Pesky Blinders then. Peaky Blinders. And I walked over to him. I said, hello, Mr. Neill. And he said, hi. But he had a sort of like an Australian accent, softly spoken though, rather than "G'day, name is Jesse." That it wasn't one of that. It was a New Zealander. I know he's a New Zealander, and but a gentle person. Shook my hand. I mentioned about Jurassic Park, as you do, and I'll tell you what else I mentioned. And I said that was a great thriller. And what it was, I forget the title of it, but I did mention it then. Say I'm losing it, you see, as you know. And he said, it was Nicole Kidman, and he brings Nicole away. You know, they're engaged. He just comes home from the Navy, and they're going away for a couple of weeks, and they just get onto a yacht, just the two of them, and they sail, and they find this other yacht in distress, and you know, one of them dinghies that they're crossing the channel with. Like that. And they said, we better pick him up. And because it was like on fire sort of thing. Smoke was bellowing anyway. And they brought him on board, and that was, what was his name? Val Kilmer. Was it Val Kilmer? No, it wasn't Val Kilmer. Oh, started a dope. I'm not saying Val Kilmer's a dope. Some dope anyway. And it was really good. And Jason, dead calm. That was it. Listen, people, honest, watch it. It's going to, you know, it's really good. Barry Aldridge, thanks, Jason. Even if Frank and everyone, sorry I'm late, prepping for the mother-in-law's 88th birthday. Go away. 88. Sad news after the murder of Anne Widdecombe, yeah, and the later passing of the actor who had died. So, yeah. Riley, Ace of Spades, that's when we first noticed him, wasn't it? Poet, absolutely. Riley, Ace of Spades. Well, in poet, lads. And Gary the Richard says, hello, Frank. Hello, Frank. How are you, boy? Hope all is well. Talking of that, Trump, he's pissing around in Iran again and has jeopardised oil and gas again, and I can't afford to put diesel in my car. Prices starting to spike again. The whole world has to suffer. Well, I'm going to tell you something. You might know and you mightn't know. But, you know, for people who don't know, or they might already know, I just don't know. Getting all the nose in, aren't they? The likes of diesel, to make diesel, you can only get oil from Russia. Did you know that? They've got this oil that actually makes diesel. And nowhere in the world has it. No any oil producing country has it. And it's only Russia. But that's for another time, that. Raphael, that's for a Friday night. That's him. Billy Zane, that's him. Billy. Oh, blimey. He's all a bit brilliant. Wasn't it that fella from the Titanic? No. Billy, yeah, it was. He was in it, wasn't he? Billy Zane. That's right. That's right. He's a good, you know. That's him. TW. Couldn't think of his name. Love you as honest to God. You're so funny. Are we still going through Liverpool history trail, Frank? Yes, Barry, right now. Yeah, Dennis, Love Summer in Ulford. That was a great film, that. That was a great film, that. on for Red October, Jason Connery. And I remember saying about Denzel Washington. So I said, it's not Denzel, it's Denzel. And I went, oh, fuck off. I had to. I'm sorry to swear. But them type of people get on my nerves. Denzel. And I said, will you call me Francis from now on? All right, Denzel. Okay, now. Say I'm already. I'm already. Cracking up, all right. And the poet, you're spot on there. He's been in a lot on the quiet. He has. Enjoyed Tombstone Flat. Yes. Yes. Can I start me history, please? Please. Hope everyone's feeling okay through the heat as there's bad fires spreading everywhere through the sun. It's sad news. Yeah. Can I start it, please? I'm going to show you something here. And that's Liverpool, look. But where is Liverpool? Because it's not on there. It's not on there. And it's all in Latin. You've got the likes of Formby. You've got everywhere there, to be honest. Even from Formby at the top right down to Speak, you've got. And that's all what it is today. Right? It's what it is today. But going back before 1207, when Liverpool became Liverpool. And if you could imagine some fella, an antiquary, coming around, why he was coming around the country, there wasn't just one, going around the country on a horse. There was a few of them, but this fella came to here, and he went to Chester. And he said to the Earl of Chester, he said, because what it was about how they felt for or against King John, because he just succeeded to the throne after the death of Richard the Lionheart, his brother. Anyway, you'd either say, yeah, he's all right, or no, I don't like him. And the Earl of Chester said, well, he's putting up loads of taxes, forgetting that it was Richard telling him to put taxes up so he could pay his army for the Crusades. And he spent more time abroad, did Richard, than he did in England. So when he got to Chester, this antiquary, and he went, oh, okay. And then he gets to a place called Hyerton. And he was looking at this, and he was looking down. He go, whoa, look at that. And he's seen from Hyerton the Pool, another river that came off the Mersey. And he went, oh, that's interesting. And what he's seen as well was a one-masted vessel. I don't know whether it was one ship or two ships. I'm not quite so sure. But anyway, one-masted vessels. Let's say he was two. When he went down to inquire, he found out that these were Irish merchants. And they were coming into this particular place and unloading what they were selling. And what they were actually selling was linen, Irish linen. And people were buying it. And when he inquired about whose land it was, they said no one owns it. So by the time he got to King John, and he was telling them all about, the different places he was visiting. And he said about this particular place that he viewed from Highton. And he said, with Chester silting up for 1,000 years to embark and disembark troops, this place would be ideal because there was Irish merchants there trading, coming over from Ireland, so it must be very near Ireland, because Ireland looked over towards Ireland at the time. You're talking 1207, you're talking this. And they viewed Ireland not as an enemy as such, but the people who were there, who settled there. And they were Spanish and French. That's why you've got a lot of Fitzgibbons and Fitzgeralds in Ireland, because they settled there. They always viewed them as an enemy anyway. And they said, they could turn the Irish against us. So it'll be ideal to claim this land for the realm, because of Chester silting up. Because you can embark and disembark troops rather quickly. So he said, who owns it? He said, no one. He said, well, has it got a name? He said, no. So he said, well, what's there? And he said, well, the people, there's local people from surrounding areas that come down and fish. And they've got little shacks there. So they fish, and a couple of little boats that they capture fish in. He said, so they call it the pool. It's a pool. Yeah, okay. But it's covered in laver. Now, laver is an old Anglo-Saxon word meaning seaweed. So he said, okay, I'll claim it for the realm. And he did. He claims it for the realm. And that's the Royal Charter being handed over to the sheriff. Now, the sheriff, the king said, go over to the Earl of Chester and tell him that he's going to look after the new borough. And it was a magnificent thing then, to get to a new borough and look over it, being built and putting your stamp on it. So anyway, he said, the Earl of Chester, now he called you for everything. He said, did he? What did he say? He said he doesn't like you because you're always putting taxes up. So he said, all right. He said, look, he said, the Sheriff of Lancaster, William D. Ferris, he was in favour of you. He thought you were good, that you had to put the taxes up because of the Crusades and your brother King John. So we said, well, all right, get him down to it, tell him to look after. Because if the Earl of Chester wouldn't have said anything derogatory towards King John, we would have been under Cheshire. So we became under the House of Lancaster, which became Lancashire. That's how we were in Lancashire, rather than Cheshire. Simple as that. And there you have it there. And the first thing that William D. Ferris decided to do was to build a castle. And also that Liverpool is built on sandstone, red sandstone. So the castle was built from red sandstone. And the quarry was, believe it or not, what we know today as Moorfields. Moorfields. So that getting the stone from there. Because the highest promontory from the River Mersey and the pool was at the top of James Street. Oh, see, you build castles near the river, you see. So the highest promontory was the top of James Street, as we know today. So we levelled it off. And the castle was starting to be built, and they had to bring people in. They had to bring artisans in to build this thing. And they built it, and it was finished in approximately 1234. 1234. I'm going to have a swig of water, people. I'm sorry about this. Excuse me. Very tasty beer. So, on the 28th of August, 1207, Liverpool became Liverpool. And that, ladies and gents, was the very first image of Liverpool. And what it depicts, to the left, you've got a couple of like little houses on the beach. That's where people lived. And of course, St. Nicholas Church. That was the very first church, public church in Liverpool. And to the right of the church, you've got the tower building, the very first tower building. And it was more like it was like just like a castle. And you also had soldiers, because where you see the tower, you've got like a little building at the bottom of it on the right, a little building. And that's where soldiers used to stay as well. Now, why were soldiers staying there? Because only up the road, you've got the castle. Well, they were staying there to look after the custom house. Liverpool's first custom house. Blimey, it's hot in here. Remember, I was always complaining of the weather. Cold weather. And this fella, John Leland, he wrote the very first thing about Liverpool in 1537. No one had written anything about Liverpool, but he did, this fella. And he was a librarian too, an antiquary, to Henry VIII. And when he came here, he was impressed. He went, "Whoa, look at this." Because what he did, he went around the country collecting manuscripts. And he actually went into a grammar school, which the grammar school, believe it or not, was the very first grammar school in the northwest of England. And I used to, not as a grammar school, but I used to teach there. I used to teach some history there a few years back. And it was made up simply because it's historical. And it's right on the grounds of St. Mary's Church in Walton. So anyway, he stayed there and he wrote, "Liverpool alias Leopold because he gave it the name, the Latin name, Leopold, by King John. When he brought the two together, the pool and the laver. Liverpool. And that's why he said Liverpool alias Leopold. And he mentions about it being a paved town. The first thing that's ever written about anywhere in the whole of the country being paved. And he even mentioned Lord Derby as a stone house there. Now, you have to have special permission to build anything from stone. Now, don't forget, this is 1537. So it's very important, though. And another striking thing about it is that Manchester men do buy there, because Manchester people from Manchester were coming into Liverpool to trade with the Irish and everybody else that was coming in. Trading and bringing it back to Manchester. That Manchester men do buy there. First thing ever written about Liverpool. And there you have it. And the streets of Liverpool was a old Roman street plan, the grid. And it was a letter H. That's how they built the streets. Because you had 7 original streets. Obviously, you had Castle Street. And when the church was actually built, they built a church inside it called St. Mary del Keys. Keys with a key, you know. Keys to the church, keys to the little town. St. Mary del Keys. And when the ordinary people who actually built the castle wanted to go to the service, the sheriff said, "No, sod off, you're not coming here, go and build your own church. And don't build it on the castle grounds." That's why the ordinary people went down to the water's edge to build St. Nicholas as we know today, which I showed you the picture of before. St. Nick's Church. Let's see if we get it up, just to remind you. There you go. St. Nick's Church there. And they built that. It wasn't built like that right away. Just built it like a square thing. But anyway, so you had Castle Street. Then you had the Dale Street, the Dale, because it was a dale. If you're ever in Liverpool and you're by the town hall, for example, just look down Dale Street. And what you'll see a dip. And if you ever get by the Shipping Mitre, for example, the bottom of Hatton Garden is best. Well, you go down, don't you? You go down. Say you're wanting to cross by the tunnel, so you go down, and then you descend up, say William Brown Street. And that's the Dale. It was a Dale, so they called it the Dale Street. Then you had Whiteacre Street, which today is Old Hall Street. Now, why was it called Whiteacre Street? Simply because it was farmland and they grew the wheat. So they just called it Whiteacre Street because it looked white, the crop. And I will be talking about why it changed its name later on, because I won't get through all this today, unfortunately. There's too much to talk about, especially when I go in depth about it. You'll see what I mean in a moment or two. So there you've got the Mersey and you've got the pool running into Liverpool. Running into it. And that, you could take any part of that. Because what you've got the pool and it runs in alongside, as we know today, Shavas Park. The side of Shavas Park. Along which is Paradise Street, right? Then straight along to Whitechapel. And then from Whitechapel, you get to the foot of St. John's Gardens. And that's where the Mersey Tunnel is. So you've got Paradise Street. Why did they name Paradise Street? All of a sudden, oh yeah, it's Paradise Street. But it wasn't one of the 7 originals, by the way. So anyway, the name Paradise Street is because all the fruits and everything else was coming off the ships, the spices. And people, because you're talking medieval times. You've just come out of the Middle Ages, and the smell, the stench was woeful. And it was like that for hundreds of years. Remember when you see films or anything, anything historical, and you see them walking around with a handkerchief, the gentlemen, because they've got scent on it, they've got perfume on, because of the smell. So Paradise Street, simply because of the aromas of spices and fruits. Hence Paradise. It's like paradise. So you have the Dale Street. You have Castle Street. You have Whiteacre Street, which is good. You have James Street. James Street. You've got to understand as well about certain things. You've got Chapel Street, also forgot that. Chapel Street, which, is named after St. Nick's on the waterfront, Chapel Street. So as you see there, it started to spread with these workers coming in. And then, remember when I said about, I'll explain later. Well, this is it. This is the Civil War. And when you look at it, this is the highest point in Liverpool, overlooking the city. And it's Everton. It's Everton. It's Highton. Remember when I mentioned Highton, where the antiquary first looked over to a place that will become Liverpool? Well, it's the same place here. And there's a pub called Campfield, the Campfield. And that's named after the camp that Rupert's men had taken. There's a big school there now, brand new school. I used to teach there about evening, only once a week. So the Campfields, and if you're ever passing there, have a look up the Campfield, the pub, the Campfield pub, and you'll see a picture. And I don't know where it is. It could be, it's not Cromwell, I do know that. It could be Prince Rupert, because he camped there. Rupert. See, when I go into depth, I'm not going into depth now about the Civil War, but it's well worth knowing about the Civil War here in Liverpool. It really is. Rather than me just saying, oh, yeah, there was a Civil War in 1642 and we were part of it. I think Liverpool was a part. I really do believe this when I come more in depth about it next week, I suppose. It was the downfall of Charles I, Liverpool. And it'll be explained. But I think I've never seen that picture before. Fantastic it is. See the gunpowder, the cannons, everything. There's the old Rupert on his horse there. But I will go into depth about it. Now look at Liverpool in 1680. It's a walled city. Look at it. It's a walled, well, not a city there though, but it's a walled township. And when you see like the highest point there, that's Everton. And that's overlooking the place. That's where Rupert overlooked where the castle was to take it. But I'm not going into that detail now. Look at that. This is 1670. Look at it. See the letter H? But you see how it's building up? Just see how it's building up. We had to have a custom house as well. This is like when, you know, over 100 years later from that 1670, when Leyland wrote about Leland, John Leland, he wrote about Liverpool, first thing ever written. And he called it a paved town. You got to ask yourself, what do you mean a paved town? How was it paved? Well, it was only the stone left over from the castle. That's all it was, the stone left over from the castle being built. Because back in the day, it was very muddy. If it rained or snow or anything. So he decided to put along the streets this leftover stone so people could keep their feet dry. Keep their feet dry. Hence, first paved town. I know that's 1537. If you leap a few years ahead, on 1565, and what was recorded was the Great Storm on the 23rd of December, 1565. So you had the mayor whose name was Cross, John Cross. And it wasn't just a great storm. It was a hurricane. But it's just documented as the Great Storm because it blew everything away. And the only things that was standing was the tower, the castle, the old exchange building, which was made of stone, but it was the town hall as it came later on. So Cross, he gathered the people. There was fatalities, unfortunately, through this hurricane. It just blew everything away. So he said to them, the people that was left there, terrible injuries as well. He said, listen, stay with me. And we're going to build Liverpool back up from stone. That there'll be no more damage like we have witnessed now. That's John Cross, the mayor. And they stayed with him. They stayed with him. Just like the people stayed in 1348 to 1358, when the plague was ravaging right through the country. And why Liverpool was so lucky was because when you see those, the original streets, the wide, they built the streets wide rather than big narrow things, little narrow things that you see in films, You've only got to go to York and you see, if you go to the Shambles, you see a very narrow street. Brilliant, historical. But terrible during the medieval period. So close together. Throwing out whatever they threw out of the homes. Well, you can imagine what they threw out into the street. But we were wise. And the prevailing winds of the Irish, coming off the Mersey right through. And it was blowing away the pestilence as well through the wide streets, blowing it away if there was any pestilence there. So out of 1,000 people in 1358, 48 and 58, 500 survived. But if they would have been tiny little streets like they had all over the country, it would have just killed everybody. The pestilence. It's very lucky. And in 1675, this is the same view just 58 years later. Look at that. From that to the left, which was hardly anything there. Look at it now. To the right. And what you've got the very first wet dock in the world that was built in 1715. Opens up in 1715. It took 6 years to build from 1709 to 1715 when it was completed. And what kind of tools did they have then? Exactly pickaxes. And they weren't as good and strong as they are today. Incredible what they did. And how they achieved that. Because remember what John Lennon said, that Manchester men do buy there. They were coming into Liverpool to buy stuff. And so there was traffic on the Mersey of ships. And they said, we've got to do something. So they sent down to London. There was a Dutchman down there working. And he was an engineer. And his name was Thomas Stairs. So they brought him up. He said, will you do a job for us? He said, yeah, what you want, what you need. And they showed them. And he said, okay. He said, I'll build you a dock. So what's that? He said, where ships can come in off the Mersey and dock. And, they can get unloaded or loaded, whatever. So he said, well, how are you going to do that? And he drew out the plan. He said, this is it. He said, I'll put gates on there, water gates, so no water could get in. And when we need the ships to sail, we just let the water, open the gates and the water will fill the dock up and then they'll sail out. And that only took 6 years with those crude tools. So look at it from the left to the right, how it built up in 58 years. Stone. And when John Cross said, We'll build it from stone. By 1566, 67, and still building, Liverpool became the very first stone township. And where you see that's St. James's Mount. Well, this is the view of the Anglican Cathedral today that you'd get looking down to the Mersey. 1750. Incredible. First time the dock had opened. I love that picture. And on that note, I'm going to have a little break. It's 9 o'clock. Going to make myself a cup of tea, if you don't mind. You'll get a little surprise here, by the way. If our Jason's there. Listen to this. Many people walk through these portals, and what they don't notice is the figure of Neptune and the hands gently resting on two little African boys, and the boys hold money. But what does it really depict? What you have on the top is a locust, and locusts are known for famine and disease. They destroy crops. Underneath you have the two dolphins, and they're circled. Underneath them you have Neptune himself. But this is a Christ-like figure with a halo. You can see the two boys holding a bag each. What does it represent? It represents money and corn. Also what they're holding are navigational instruments and an anchor. Because in those days, this is 1932 when this building was erected, the only way to get to the African countries was by steamship and not, like today, airlines. So therefore, the trade helped these famine-ridden countries, and that's what it depicts. Obviously, we cannot see all the rooms that Herbert J. Rouse designed, but this is the boardroom. And the boardroom is exceptional. This is Art Deco at its best, with a Greek theme. Original clock,
and its original 1932 fire with natural amber. Imagine all the transactions being conducted from here, the boardroom, from all around the world. But today it's quite different because it's used as a function room. You may find yourself here at a talk, but don't forget to take a look out the window because you may find a very special neighbour. Another boardroom? No, this was the dining room because they came from the boardroom and they actually dined in here. There was a lot of money in this city, a lot of it. Yeah, I think I found the right door because they're dotted all over the place. No matter where you go, you could find yourself lost, but I think I found the right way up to the roof. Found it. Now we're on the roof. We're keeping with Rouse's Greek theme, and this is a Greek colonnade, magnificent as it is. The attention for detail that Rouse puts in, even on a roof that nobody sees, and it still retains the Greek theme, Art Deco Greek theme. When we were in the boardroom, we met the next door neighbour. Here's next door but one.
Frank walking around, yeah. Yeah, it's a great building. I love that building. I really do. It's magnificent. I love Art Deco. Love it. And Herbert House is one of the greatest of all Art Deco architects. The Americans wanted him over there. They said, when you come over, he said, no. He said, I've got a lot of stuff on me. I'm doing at the moment. Built some fantastic buildings. And Liverpool 1, when Liverpool 1 was being built, and they decided, not Liverpool 1, by the way, it wasn't Liverpool 1, it wasn't Grosvenor. And I don't know who these silly people were. And, well, you do know, like, and they pulled down Art Deco buildings on the waterfront. Beautiful Art Deco buildings, Herbert houses. If anyone remembers coming into Liverpool and if they were down at the pier head, say, and they were looking at the likes of Jaguar selling cars, you know, they had a big car showroom there. Fantastic it was. Really fantastic. The building itself, beautiful. Pulls it down. Herbertier houses, Art Deco building. It's fantastic. And that's the sad indictment about city planners at the time. Just pulling anything down. That really irks me. It really does. Irks me to talking about it. Anyway, we carry on. I'll just go down and see what you can comment. Now we're busy. Good evening, greetings from Heathrow Airport area of West London, Frank. Say it. Oh, you know, we're busy. And the poet said, I'm loving this. This is amazing. Thank you, poet. And Polo. Hey, Polo. That is brilliant illustration. Imagine that. All forest, woods, as far as the eye can see. Wait till I start talking about not now. Please, not now. I'll have to go in depth on a couple of things, actually. Especially the Civil War. Because when I used to give a lecture about the First World War, I used to have the impact it had on Liverpool, even the Second World War, the impact, and so did the Civil War. It has a terrible impact on Liverpool. But the resilience of the Liverpool people was incredible. But I want to go in depth on that. I'll do that next week. Dennis, if you're enjoying this, as I am, in brackets, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe and share. Thank you. Dennis. And our busy says, happy birthday, greetings to 88-year-old mother-in-law, Barry. Isn't that lovely? Oh, Natasha. All right, Natasha. Great. Are you watching the Argentina versus England? Most probably. I want to watch France. What I've seen, I think France is going to win it. I really do. I think France is going to win it. Hope you're well, Natasha, darling. Oh, honestly. What was the grammar school called? Says the Polo. Grammar school. I'll tell you where it is, Polo. If you go to St. Mary's in Walton, I forget the name of the pub. And like some of the students, they were all mature students when I used to be in there teaching history. There was a few of them saying, "Oh, do you fancy a pint?" No, I've got to get home. I'm driving. I've got to get, And I forget the name of the pub, but if you see St. Mary's, you'll see it on the grounds. Right next to the pub, it is sandstone building. And that was the grammar school, first grammar school in the Northwest. First grammar school. So if you go up there that way, Polo, have a look and see it for yourself. Forget the name of the pub, but you can't miss it. Where you see St. Mary's, on the grounds there, and you see the pub, the poop, and it's right next to it. But it's on the grounds of, you've got the pub, then you've got the grounds, the railings, and that, of St. Mary's. And that's where the grammar school is. It's well worth a look, little historical look. And I don't even know when it was built. I really don't. I think it was built around 1420, something like that. 1400, 1420. Could even be earlier. Could even easily be earlier. It's a very old building, one of the oldest now in Liverpool. Especially when Walton was swallowed up into Liverpool. Stephen Carlyle. Remember Uncle going on about Wolf Street when he was alive? That's not even there now, back in the 60s. No. Loads of streets has been disappeared. Lots of them, just like buildings. But when you look at buildings that have gone, I'll try and get a compilation of buildings in the near future, and I'll show you them. And you'll go, wow. Oh, no, that's gone now. Wow. Oh, no, and that's gone as well. Imagine this. The Lyceum down in Bold Street, the bottom of Bold Street. Right? Now, just imagine if that were to come down when they wanted it to come down in the early 80s to make way for another glass building, like a little shopping centre. And I showed you that, you say, look at that building, that lovely. Oh, not lovely yet. Well, it's pulled down in 82, 83 or something like that to make way for that, what you see today. And that's what they wanted to do, pull down the Lyceum. The Lyceum where the likes of Charles Dickens used to go into. They wanted to pull it down, people. I'll tell you what else they wanted to pull down. There was a lovely fella, Freddie O'Connor, such a gentleman. Such a gentleman. And he wrote books that all came tumbling down. And he rang me up one day and he said, can you get down here? I said, what for? Where are you? And this was in the morning. And I'm talking morning, about 8:30, 9 o'clock. He said, we're at the post house. I said, I'm not going. I'm having a drink. He said, no, and it was a weekend. He said, no, we're trying to stop the demolition of the post house. Who went in the post house? Come on, Charles Dickens, Nathaniel Hawthorne, and allegedly Adolf Hitler. Imagine pulling that down. The post house. They don't give a toss. City planners do not give a toss. To say, pull that down, let's build something. And all as they were going to build on the site of the post house was a little block of flats. Very narrow block of flats. Narrow, not big, long ones. Have a look at it the next time you go down, you'll see flats around in Cumberland Street. You've only got to look at the Sailors' Home when they pulled that down in 1974 and built nothing on it until Liverpool 1 came along and built John Lewis on it. It was just a big hole from 74. You've only got to look at the David Lewis Theatre. Where the David Lewis Theatre stood, just behind that, you had the Anglican Cathedral. But they pulled that down. Beautiful building, red brick building that David Lewis had built for the poor people so they could be entertained. Pull it down, yeah, okay, well, demolished. No one to say, hang on a minute. But we saved it anyway, the Lyceum and also the White Mansion House in Calderstones. They wanted to pull that down to build flats. They didn't know the historical significance of that. All right, let's carry on, eh, boys and girls. Look at that now. Take it off there. Look at that now. Look at it. It was like a walled city. It was like a walled city. From 1728, that is. And that's a close-up view of it. Remember about what I said about it being what John Cross said, we're going to build from stone. That's what we built it from. Because we became then not only the first paved town as before, but now we became the very first stone township. You had to have a license to build from stone, which was nuts. I'm going to take a slurp of my tea, excuse me. Let's see what he's been saying. And Peter to wear polo. I think it was old grammar school Walton. You're right. You're right, Peter. Smashing. St. Mary's and Walton. And Polo says all the area of Liverpool are basically names of hills, woods, high ground, low hill, yes, etc., etc. I'll tell you what, where I grew up in Scotland Road, you've only got to look at Southend. And they were named after the Bible. They were Bible streets, weren't they? And when you look at Scotland Road, we were the poet streets. Ben Jonson, Milton, Byron. They were named after great poets. Bottom of Scotland Road. So we did have, great names of people. But isn't that fantastic? And Barry says, the H shape of the early roads, Frank, did this expand over time as it is now the US-based their roadways, despite them only being 250 years old. Every street, excuse me. Yeah. You've got to look at every street throughout the globe that's got proper streets. It's all on the Roman grid plan. Fantastic. Thanks, Peter. Campion School, I remember. I remember our Derek going to school. He went to Campion and he had his little uniform on. And he said, oh yeah. I said, you're going off to school? I said, you won't be going there long, will you? And he said, no. He was finishing that summer. Campion, that's where he went. Pictures on fire. Thanks, Cedric. Brilliant picture. Yes. Yes. And Peter, poet says, used to play footy on the campfields in the 70s. The big school wasn't there then. It was just a big field. There was a school not far, though, called John Hamilton. John Amo, yeah. Yeah, well, that's why it was called a campfield, because that's where, I suppose, like when you were playing football in the 70s, just like myself, you wouldn't have a clue why it was called that, because you're not interested, really. No one's interested. And I used to play on a thing called the Gravy. the Gravy, where I grew up in Jerry Gardens, we used to play footy on there because there was a bit of green rather than playing on concrete. And we used to go there, and when I realised later on that I was playing football on one of my greatest heroes, Liverpool heroes of all time, and that was Wyndham Sadler, who crossed the expanse of water in a balloon in April 1817. So you see, you don't realise the certain things that you pass. Well, I didn't know that. Wow, look at that. You know, you've only got to look at Piggy Lane, Ottail Street. It's called Leather Lane today. Well, it's always been Leather Lane, even going back then. But people used to call it Piggy Lane because if you look up, you've got two pigs at each side of the lane, right next to Rigby's pub. My old mates, they brilliant images. They are, honestly. Wait till I go through a few more. What's that river through? Where did that go? Says the poet. That was called the Pool. And I was with Roger McGough. We were doing it. I was the historical consultant for Liverpool at the time. Liverpool 1 as it was being built. And they asked me, they said, someone asked me anyway, not Liverpool 1, Grosvenor. And they said, we're building we're going to have a fountain. And we're going to round it with stainless steel. And we're going to have a poem written around it. And we want you to, contribute. So I said, yeah, all right. And I met Roger McGough. And Roger McGough started us off. And I wrote something about the castle. I do remember. So I wrote something about the castle. And you can see it today. It's still around. So you're asked, where did the water go, poet? It's still there. You cannot get rid of a river. Only if you make a dam. And the river's still there, right under Paradise Street and Whitechapel, leading to the Mersey Tunnel, Queensway, bottom of St John's Gardens, and the fountain that the water was coming out, if you remember it coming out, and little mad kids running in getting soaked, which was nice, would have been fantastic today. That was the water from the pool, believe it or not. But it kept breaking down, unfortunately. I think it was a bit of fucking hell. You get fountains going for many, many years. Like the Stebble fountain, for example. Fountains all over the world. You've got one in Pompeii going, and that breaks down cheap. So they had to stop it. Or it keeps clogging up. Oh, fuck off. Ridiculous. Really annoying. So it's still there, poet. And Gary says, what's the very oldest street, Frank? The first one? Castle Street. That was the very first one. Do you know what? I wish I could walk. And I'd just say right now, come and meet me outside Victoria's Monument. I'll see you there. And I could just show you, just around there, that little area. And I'll give you the history. You go, wow, didn't know that. Telling you. I had this I had Americans And I gave them the American connection. Lovely people, the ordinary Americans, you know, they're just lovely people. And anyway, I was telling them, and they couldn't believe the connection that Liverpool had with America. They couldn't believe it. And obviously, they had a little minibus, didn't they? So I was made up with that. So I brought them up to the very first Confederate consulate. And they couldn't believe it. Wow. You see, so it's things like that that are shown people. Are shown people. And these Americans couldn't get over it. And when I bring ordinary Liverpool people around, especially just that little area I was talking about, they go, wow. Wow. And I showed them certain things. Dennis Paparak, when he was here, when he came to visit me, I told him about it. I won't tell you. I will not tell you. And I said, have a look at that and tell your mates, because they were going around on a little tour. You know, the bandmates before he went back to the States, because they appeared at the Cavern Club and the Cavern Pub, the two of them. And they went around. And I told them what to look. I told Dennis what to look for. And tell your mates what it is. And he was, wow. And he was made up with it. Absolutely delighted. And they were as well as mates. Frank, who were the big landowners, barons from the Tudor times? You know them. The Stanleys, the Molyneux, the Norrises, and the Moores. But I want to go into that with the in depth, to be honest, Polo, about the Civil War. You'll get to know them. You really will. I'll do the Civil War next week, promise you. It's 8, Frank. I know. That's how far behind I am with you lovely people. Because I just want to read out your comments. I noticed the kiln in your last photo. Did you, Steve? Brilliant, isn't it? Oh, yeah. The kiln. And that's what it was. Just think, 1715, the Industrial Revolution was next. Polo, I've said it for years and years and years, honestly. You know, they say about the Industrial Revolution being in 1767. I say, no, it wasn't the start of it. The start of it was our wet dock. Think about it. How it's industrialised the fucking globe. The wet dock could hold 100 ships to get in and out. There was a little graving dock that the ships went in to be repaired. This is all in 1715. That's the Industrial Revolution. Excuse me. And Barry saying, what was the population difference between 1675 to 1730, Frank? Well, more and more people were coming into Liverpool. The biggest rise in the population, which I will be talking about next week. I just want to show these images, you see. Surprise you. It will surprise you. And why? And why the population grew. Paul says, sounds like the Scouse ZZ Top. with Frank on the drums. Did you like it? By the way, did you like the song? Sounds like the Scout ZZ Top with Frank on the drums. And Gary says, massive difference. Liverpool was the second largest city in Britain in the 1840s. It was the second of the empire, they say, the second city of the empire. Problem was, people think that it was the size. It wasn't the size. It was just the trade by the 1840s. And I said it was the biggest, not the second largest. But I mean for trade. It was incredible. The trade they're coming through to Liverpool during the 19th century was immense. Immense. And if you think about the slave trade, 16% of goods, 24% of goods coming through during the slave period belonged to the slave trade. The other 76% had nothing to do with the slave trade. And I'm talking about goods. So that's a fallacy. And Polo says that by 1940, it was the decline. I want to get on to what you said there before, Polo. It wasn't really, you're talking the 1940s, it was buzzing. I'll tell you when it was. I'm not saying it now. I really need to go in depth on things rather than just giving you a quick answer. And I'd rather go into depth. Not depth. We're doing a show tomorrow. No, I'm doing no shows. Darryl, football's on. No one will be listening. 7 o'clock, you kidding? France, so no one will be listening, Darryl. Sorry. I'm sorry, mate. I'm not doing one on Wednesday either. I might do one on Thursday. Yeah, I know about that, Darryl. Might do. And Polo says that Martin's Bank is amazing. Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful, Polo. And Carrie's got love deco. It really is. It is. You look at the Philharmonic Hall. Look at the windows. Look at the windows. Just look at the window. I mean, the panes of glass. What's carved on them? And Stephen said, they tried to save it. It came down in 1724, and what they wanted to do, they done their best to get rid of it and build a church. And they built the church, St. George's. And that's a shame. If we'd have had our castle now, could you imagine it today? It would have been a museum. Taken back, to the Middle Ages. 1234. That's what I mean when I said before. I'd love to see. I would have loved to have met you outside the Victoria Monument. We'll just go, see that building there, see that building. What's the names of them? And you'd go, oh, didn't know that. And that's the sickening point. This is the way I was so active. And look at me. just about get around my place. But you're right there, Stephen, it is a shame, but people try to save it, mate. Believe you me, preservationist. And poet says, Art Deco always reminds me of Agatha Christie. Yes, and Poirot. You're right. That's a great point there. Because when you see Poirot in those series, he's always in Art Deco buildings. And look at the furniture as well, Art Deco furniture. Good show, poet. And Polo says, typical council, they would pull down the pyramids. They would. When I see, I'll carry on in a minute. When I seen, I had a group of people. And I said, and we were walking around, you know, and I said, now I'm going to bring you to Little Egypt. And he looked, you know, he said, Little Egypt, we've got a Little Egypt. And I said, yeah. He said, well, we've got a, one of the lads said, well, we've got a Chinatown, haven't we? I didn't know we had a Little Egypt. I said, well, I'm going to show you. And this other old lady it was, she said, we had a Little Italy, didn't we, Frank? And I went, certainly did. But that was a generational thing. And why it came down, again, it has to go in depth. It's not used, you know, use me saying, oh, well, yeah, this is why it went. And that's it, leave it at that. Leave it at that, you know, exclamation mark. It's no use. It's got to be depth. And it'll surprise you why Little Italy went. It'll surprise you. And when I brought them along, this group, I showed them. One fellow went there, has he got any pyramids? And I went, you're going to see them in a minute. And this fella took no notice of me. But he said, are we going to see any pyramids? And I showed them the pyramids. And he went, he said, I've passed here loads of times. I said, well, yeah, have a look at this then. You passed there, you passed this as well. And he went, I've never even seen it then. So you see what people miss out on. Even, I love this little story about Rita Tushingham, that beautiful, lovely lady. Great actress. And I met her in the Catholic Cathedral. And I said, yeah, come outside. She went, excuse me. I said, no, I want to show you something. Come. And we went outside. And I said, do you see that? She said, yeah. And I explained what that was. I'm not telling you. And then we went inside. And I said, do you see that? I said, well, that's it, being placed. And she went, why doesn't this become, why don't you, she said, why don't you do a little film about it and put it in here? Because no one's ever said this. She said, I've been here a few times. She said, I was that gentleman, you know, he was one of the guys. He liked me, actually. I wasn't liked by others, to be honest, because you're taking me job, you know. Well, you want to fucking sell it right then, don't you? I never swore, like. And when I explained, she was in. She said, do a film, just do a little film and explain. Because I was totally unaware. She said, I've been in here a few times. I said, well, you know now, Rita, don't you? And she said, yes, thank you so much. Give me a big hug. Big hug. She said, thank you. Lovely woman. Lady. Kinda look at, just a minute. Look at that. St. George's Church is at the centre there. and the old dock in St. Peter's. Wow. And you see at the top there, that's Everton. Right under 1728. And Everton was there before Liverpool. That was Highton. And Stephen said, great show tonight, Frank. I loved the pictures on the screen behind you of our famous city. It's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephen. And Stephen says, I didn't know that. Maggie Mays in Bowl Street is going to be turned into a pub with a Victorian theme. Well, who was it guessing that? A pub. Maggie Mays. The Black Horse. That's it, poet. That's the pub next door to, Well then, made up. I love our lads. Did you go? Why aren't you up there? Hang on a minute. Something wrong there. Fuck me. Fuck. I'm sorry. I'm awfully sorry. I don't know where I am. Let's go through. I'm awfully sorry about that. The O'Needon line was set in Liverpool and has some good maritime history. And absolutely, Peter, you're right. And when I first came out with that Peter Gilmore, you know, the actor, and he was talking, you know, and he had that accent. He's not a Scouse, they're not talking Scouse. I said, Scouse wasn't like going at the time. I said, it gradually came with migrants, especially from Wales, Ireland. I said, and then it was a mixture of our language with our accent, and it just came out as what we speak today. I said, but they didn't do that in the 1700s. He still didn't believe me, like, what can you do? And the Polo, Frank, did you see the actress in the new film, Odyssey? She went to Yale University, and now, and what's that? Now heirs of Homer, Odyssey. This is Yale. Never heard of the Odyssey. I know, mate. And Dennis will tell you as well. Dennis, you know, the American lad, he knows. He knows as well. Yale. And you know, set Yale up. Hey, I get mixed up with these two brothers. One name's is Increase, the other is Cotton, named Cotton. And they were the grandson of Pastor Marr, who was the chief, like whatever they call them, pastors, down at the ancient chapel of Toxteth. And he left there, and they were his grandsons, and they found Yale. Well, one of them found Yale, and the other fella found Harvard. There's your big Liverpool connection. Incredible, isn't it? Neil Purcell. Hi, Neil. Hi, Frank and chat. Roger McGough taught us poetry in St. Kevin's. Go away, Kirby. Go away. When he was still in the scout. Go away. Well, you'd never know who was teaching me. Do you ever remember the spinners? Mick Groves. Mick Groves was teaching us. And all as Mick came in with a guitar and just started singing all the time. We got no lessons or anything. Mick Groves. Must be well dead. I met him years and years later. And I was in Mary's. And there he is standing. And he was with his son. And he said, I remember you. He said, I remember you. I said, I always remember you. You were our teacher, weren't you? And he was a smashing fella, Mick. He wouldn't give anyone the cane. Didn't believe in corporal punishment. But we were good lads. We had respect. And I had Davy. But Stanley Park, always a green area. I got chased across it once. Away game on a Friday night. That must be them Evertonians, them Davy. Wasn't us Liverpool supporters. Got chased. Yeah, it's always been a green area. Davy. Mr. B. Franco Baresi. I am Mr. B. Thanks for that. Hashtag 97. You'll never walk alone. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. And Paulo says, great. Yeah, that kid, I don't look like anything like him, you know, but that kid always called me Baresi. Even now, I like Baresi. When he speaks to me, that is. But he was Franco Baresi. Oh. And the lovely Bella. Frank, I love hearing about Liverpool's rich history, the way you talk with such passion. It's great knowing so many wonderful things through this channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, you know, Bella. I really do. Thank you, sweetheart. Look at that. Isn't that a great picture? Look at that. Look at that. Painting it is. Looking over towards Liverpool from the other side. 1811. Well, circa 1811. I love it, you know. Love things like that. Now this breaks my heart, this. Look at that, the Custom House. Built in 1828 by John Foster Jr. It's at 32 columns, bigger than St. George's Hall, and the same type of stone. And when you look at the top of the tower, an incendiary went through there, and it gutted 2/3 of the inside. Gutted. But they put it out, the fire. And the other 1/3 was fine, nothing wrong with it. Then the corruption came in. Because after the war, the Americans, they came and went, hey, we love that building, can you know, we'll buy it off you. They said, yeah, okay. We'll take it down stone by stone and, you know, you'll be okay with it. Okay. And the Yanks got fed up waiting. So they just demolished it. Preservationists were pulling their hair out, believe you me. Could you imagine that there today? Where Shavas Park is? Could you imagine that there today, overlooking the Albert Dock? Could you imagine that? And they pulled it down for the sake of the Americans. Because America was buying all kinds. They were buying Scottish castles and bridges, and they wanted that. And they got fed up and just walked away. but it was too late then. I always remember, forget him, forget this fella, some engineer. And he said, listen, he said, I'm going to take you somewhere. I said, where? So anyway, he brought me, up to Anfield Cemetery. So I'm going to surprise you there. So I said, okay. So anyway, we walked in. He said, you see that? You see that? You see that? You see that? And they were marked stone. And he said, do you know where they're from? And I said, can I have a guess? And he said, yeah. And I said, the Custom House. And he just looked at me. He went, did you know about? I said, no, I didn't know where they were. He said, you can tell by the stone and the markings. That's where they were put for the Americans to take, with the store in it. And then it's just like a Russian count. And he came over with his wife and they were visiting England, came to Liverpool. And unfortunately, she died here in Liverpool. So he said, listen, he said, can you bury her, but don't bury her, to dig her up. So they put her in there. I can show it's a smashing. It's like a little mausoleum in Anfield Cemetery, and they put it in there. He said, "I'll be back within a couple of months." You're talking the 19th century. So they said, "Okay, count." She's still there. Never ever came back. The man. Mad, isn't it? Little mad stories like that. So we've got a Russian countess buried here in Liverpool. Mr. Do on Wednesday proper Liverpool fans don't support England. No, they'll watch you for the sake of watching it. I won't watch it. And I was asked before. But then again, I might as well. It's a farce, this World Cup, though, isn't it? No matter who wins it. I think France will win it. But whoever wins it, it's not going to be the same, is it, really? I love that picture, Tell you what I'll do. I'll do it on Thursday, Mr. B. See, are we doing a once about a Darrell and fucking leaves? Annoying. Look at that. Look at that. Now, what you're seeing there is Liverpool well built up, and that's in 1840. But what you see there now, I'll just take it off there, Mr. B. What you see there now is the dock system. 1715 to the dock system now, and they were still building the dock system when that was painted by Walter H. And Bella say, Franco walks the Mersey shore, chasing shadows, docks and law. Liverpool's great tales unwind in the archives of his mind. Thank you so much, Bella. Grazie mille, cara mia, Bella. Grazie. Beautiful, bellissima. Bellissima. Isn't that lovely? I'm going to keep that. I'm going to tell Jason today because I'm still doing the history. Got a couple of poems belonging to you, by the way, which has been taken, so we've got them. Bella. I love that. Why did they build that black mausoleum? I mean, the museum on the riverfront. Horrible, horrible. I go mad after. When I was the consultant, the lovely Rod Holmes said to me, they're not building it. And I said, oh, I'm made up. I've made up the black granite buildings. And I didn't even want, I'm being honest, I didn't want a museum. They could have built it a bit further along or put it somewhere else. But if they wanted it on the waterfront, they could have put it a bit further up. Up by the Radisson somewhere. But they had to build it. Because what they were going to do on that particular site, that was already built. And what they were going to put, and it would have been great for the tourists of coming off the ships. And they were going to build a massive garden on the site of where you've got those black granite buildings. And it would have been wonderful. The plans were absolutely outstanding. And the people could come off the ships and just sit there. Our general public as well could have just sat there and enjoyed the space and overlooking the Mersey. Now they just built that instead. And the fella who gave it the go-ahead, fella name, say, like Tom Neal or whatever his name, his last name was Neal, not his first name, Neal. And he was the Arriva fella. And they just wanted Arriva offices in Hatton Garden. People say, just leave it there, it's all right. So those black granite buildings wouldn't have been built because he said, take it as you think. I'm not saying it's on here. But all of a sudden, he said, oh, yeah, we want to move down to where the pier at Arriva. And then all of a sudden, as soon as he gave the go-ahead, they started building those black granite things, knocking down the likes of, as I mentioned before, Art Deco buildings. Oh, fuck. Every time I think about it. And he went to Australia with his boyfriend. Just all of a sudden went. So make your own minds up about that. Make your own mind. Little Linda, the castle and the overhead railway so lost. Both would have been fantastic. Yes, Linda. Yes. And Linda says, is that the one by the university, Frank? What's that, Linda? I'm sorry, I've lost the thread. I'm awfully sorry, sweetheart. Jobsworth, Scallies, yes. Yes. The importance of history, says the poet. Blimey, what's going on here? Fuck off. See, every time updating. No, I can't. I've got to continue. I hate these phones, Hate them. When I went to the dentist, I just left it in the house. And I said, can you phone a cab for me? They said, yeah. And they helped me in the cab, Lovely people. The importance of history, says the poet. How do we know where we are going if we don't know where we've been? That's a cracker. And the poet said, the Aneden line was great. Yeah, it was a very good series with that proper accent. Cedric, if you were in a better health, which you will be, in brackets, you could take new managers around Liverpool to tell them the history. This is fascinating, Frank. To be honest, I remember bumping into this. It was during, I'll tell you when it was. It was when I was more or less meeting the Queen in 2008. And it was the more or less the completion. It wasn't the proper completion, but more or less the completion of Liverpool 1. And I was talking to this cop, chief constable he was. I don't know, forget who he was. And we were talking, and I said, you know what? I said, your police haven't a clue about the history of Liverpool. And he said, what do you mean? I said, they haven't a clue. I said, I've spoken to them. They haven't a clue. I said, don't forget that, your coppers are coming in from different parts of the country. They haven't a clue. If they had some local history lessons, they'd be a much wiser to the people. And he said, that's a good idea, that. I said, okay. I said, but just, let them go to local history classes. He said, will you take them? I said, yeah. Never happened, unfortunately. Just like Slot. I'm sorry to go on. It's just a quick one. It's just like Slot when he didn't want to know Liverpool. He didn't want to know Liverpool. He would rather have lived in Manchester. And his wife didn't want to know Liverpool either. That's a sackable offence. You should never have said to him, okay, you've got the job. You should have said, well, if you don't come and live in Liverpool, you and your family, that's it. You can't have the job. That's what he should have said. And look what he fucking done. Not going on about it now, but that's just the thing. And Bella says, poet, that's that lovely set. Yes. Poet's out true. Isn't that great? That is very, I know what you mean there. The importance of history, how do we know where we are, where we're going, if we don't know where we've been? Absolutely. Oh, that's corruption, that. I know who built it. I'm not sorry. The Audley brothers built it, but I know who bought it. And they bought it for £2, promising that they do it up. And I can't say who it was, because I could be called a certain thing, a certain fucking label. And I don't want to be called that, because I'm not that certain label. Linda. And they bought it for, I think, £2 or £4. £4 maximum. And they tried to sell it for millions. That's why it's rotten now. Love the Liverpool History Show. So informative, says Barry Aldridge. Thank you, Barry. Lisa Sims. Hiya, Lisa. Superb, this, Frank. Great pictures, mate. Thank you, Lisa. Grazie. Thank you. Great Pete in 1811. Henry J. Yeah. Yeah. There's the Albert Dock. Now, look at the pollution. Look at the Albert Dock, right? And this is in 1920. But look at the custom house that I'd just seen before, you know, all white and all beautiful. And look at the pollution on it. Yeah. This is genuine. I was brought up in Janet Gardens, and the likes around the Stebble Fountain, St George's Hall, uh, you know, the Sessions House and the Walker and the library. That was my playground, St John's Gardens. My playground, that is a mad little kid running around and getting soaking wet in the Stebble Fountain. And when I used to look at those buildings, now don't forget, I'm a little mad kid running around 5, 6, 7. When you could get out and be okay, that is. Can't do it today, unfortunately. And I always thought, as I was growing up as well, honestly, as I was growing up, that St George's Hall, if you remember, was black. Very similar to the Liver building, like, you know, like the custom house there. They were black. And I really thought that they were black stone. And then when they cleaned them up, that's pollution for you. That's pollution. And Davey, it was a FA Cup tie, Frank. Liverpool 4, Newcastle. Nick Keegan's return as a player. There were well over 14,000 of us. It was a magical night. Always is against Newcastle. Always is. And don't forget, you know, as well, Davey, it's like Glasgow, it's like Newcastle, it's like Liverpool. We're northern, you see. And we're ports. We have the same mindset. We really do. We have the same mindset. And you get people saying, I don't know whether, I think you'll get it in Newcastle and Glasgow. Like if the Glasgow lads was working away, you know, like whatever. They, oh yeah, I met a couple of Scousers, you know, got on great. They're just like us, same as Newcastle. They say, because that's what they say. We're more or less the same people. We mean well. We mean well. We respect other people. I'm not talking about football rivalry, I'm really not. But I'm talking about respect. And the unfortunate thing is, the southern people don't. I was in Italy on my own, went for a meal. There was only me, and there was 2 other people, just 2, couple, man and woman, middle-aged. And when the lady said to me, they weren't far away, you know, but when she said to me, oh, where are you from? And I said, Liverpool. And what the annoying thing is, the man went, oh, and picked her handbag up, put it to her chest. What's your handbag? Scousers are about. I wanted to smash his fucking head in. Because I'm sick of that. And I got up and walked over. I said, do you think that I'm going to walk over here, grab your handbag, grab your lady's handbag? I did say lady, like, grab your lady's handbag and run off with it. Do you really fucking think that, fella? And he just looked at me. You prick. Just walked away. Fucking hate that. Targeting Scousers again. Linda, Frank, I have some photos of the inside of the custom house. It was repaired. Of course it was. We'll send you, will you? Oh, yeah, please, Linda, do it. Please, Linda. I know that I've got a couple that, you know, you see the gutted and you know, where it was gutted. But yeah, please send me them. I made some stone columns for Birmingham Town Hall, says Peter. The stone was from Anglesey limestone, but called Anglesey marble. It got 40 Corinthian columns. Go away. Really? 40? We had 32 on the custom house. That's brilliant, that. But when St. George's Hall was built between 1844 to 1854, when it opened, it was incredible. But the custom house had more columns. That had 32, and that was built in 1828. I seemed well in there, Peter, lad. Corinthian. Well, the Corinthian columns outside, the Greek, by the way, Corinthian is Greek, and the Doric is Roman. And St. George's Hall here in Liverpool is Corinthian columns, that Greek. Oh, it's time I think about it. You know, I don't think I've ever mentioned this. This is genuine, this. Did you know that the militants wanted to pull St. George's Hall down and build a car park? Did you know that? In the early 80s, 84, I think. This is when they wanted to knock the Lyceum down and places like that. I always remember, he was younger than me, this fella, and when they were shutting it for refurbishments, I got a phone call off one of the managers of the hall and said, "Frank, would you give a series of lectures here while the place is shut? We want to keep it, going lively." I said, "Yes, sure. But other parts of it will be blocked off because of the refurbishments." I said, "Yeah." So anyway, I went up there and I was given it twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I used to bring the people around, but it was, mostly history in one of the rooms, fantastic. And, give them a little tour of the place where it could go. Anyway, I went outside and I was by the statue on the steps, Lord Beaconsfield, standing by. I was just having a bit of a break. And this fella came up to me, and I know him. Anyway, it was one of my old bosses, and he was younger than me. But he was very, very militant. Lovely fella, don't get me wrong, but militant. And he said, "What are you doing here?" I told him. He said, "Blimey, you're lucky, aren't you, that we never pulled it down?" I said, "Yeah." Genuinely. St. George's Hall for the car park, eh? We don't want capitalism and all this nonsense. They wanted to, at the same time, they wanted to pull down the town hall as well. Think about that. St. George's Hall in the town. Oh, fuck me. Steve, fuck England. I never said that. I don't swear. To say everyone swear. For all that I care. Been fighting them since 1989. And Gary says, "It's my birthday on Wednesday, so I won't be watching it." Well, join us on Thursday. I'll have one Thursday. A football show. Is that okay with you? I'll have a football show Thursday. Happy birthday anyway, Gary, lad. Happy birthday. International football finished years ago. Corrupt as fuck, says the polo. Say, I never swore again. Say, I'm not swearing. Everyone's swearing by me. Brilliant old depictions of Liverpool, says Gary. I did them especially. I knew that it was your birthday, so I said to Jason, you know, the producer, I said, put these, I want you to have a look at these pictures, put them up. It's Gary's birthday, because he loves little pictures of Liverpool. So that's your surprise, Gary. Stunning photographs. Look at that. Look at that. The overhead railway. The overhead railway, ladies and gents, stood for 60 years. 60 years. And during that 60 years, 73 million people boarded that. And corruption brought it down. And I'll tell you all about it when I do the Second World War. Shocking, that. The corrupt was unbelievable. And you know what was one of the excuses was? Oh, well, we've got buses now. Well, no, and there's buses and trams. So, you know, what do we want an overhead railway? Think about it. That's what they were saying. Oh, I give up. I took a bit of church. Hang on. I took a bit of church down once, stone by stone, and packed it into 2 steel containers and put it back up. Oh, go away. That's brilliant, that, Peter. Pity you couldn't, you know, you weren't around in 1948 when they were taking down the custom house. You could have hoarded it, then put it back again. I'll show you not now, obviously. I'll show you buildings that they pulled down. Stephen could not give us about England's when most England fans ate us Scousers and sing bads. Yeah, of course. You know, I've said that to England fans. There was a lad here, a blue, he used to come out, I don't know what happened to him. And he said, I support England. I said, you've heard about them chanting all Scousers, you know, about Scousers. I said, it includes you, you know, it's not just Liverpool fans. Scousers, bin dippers. Sign on, sign on. In your Liverpool slums. And even at an England match, they was singing, you know, chanting, we hate Scousers. What the fuck's that all about? At a World Cup. And you want to fucking stand next to them. Would you be shouting it? We hate Scousers. Hey, that includes you. I haven't seen him fucking since. Fucking arsehole. Mr. B. Yes, Stephen, they can fuck off. You'll never walk alone. Whose bright idea was to knock down Littlewood? So don't tell me, yeah. Oh, please. I was going to Italy. I was flying over. I had a late flight. And I seen it fucking smouldering, you know, when it first went up. That's, I'm telling you now, it's awesome on a big scale. You're not kids going in and setting fucking fire. It's awesome. Like Tingwall Hall, Ken Dodd. He wanted to use it as a museum. He was putting all his money into, well, you know, he was going to open it. He wanted it down. Arson, twice, 2 fires. Ken was devastated. Ken Dodd. Tingwall Hall, beautiful it was. You should never build a museum about yourself. It's a sign of decline, says the Polo. This is the yeah. Funding for the Littlewoods project died and left to rot and decay after the bad fire that wrecked this beautiful building, says Stephen. Yes, they were building us into a big, like, Hollywood sort of studio. And Jason says, Frank, I've known you for about 25 years and I can vouch that you never swear, by the way. We do have 138,000 in the swear. See, I told you I don't swear. It's all the people on here swearing, making me swear. Thanks for that. Our little Lindsay. I'm off now. Good night, everyone. Good night, Lynn. Don't forget them photographs, please, sweetheart. Did any of these corrupt council go to jail? Nope. Never. Says the Polo. Never do. Never fucking do. And Stephen says, love of Frank for the football show on Thursday after the bump fest on England. After Wednesday, praying Argentina does the business and McAllister scores the winner. The winning goal. You'll never walk alone. And Peter says, yeah, it's saying what happened to our. I'll have a special one. And I'll show you the buildings that came down. And you won't believe it, honestly. God, you won't believe it. Excuse me. It does hurt, Peter. It really does, fella. And the lovely Bella. When people are corrupt, money talks, and that's why we lose so many beautiful bills. Yes. Yes. Could you imagine our town planners and the corrupt officials living in Rome? You'd have no Colosseum. You'd have no amphitheatre. You'd have no great thermo baths. You'd have nothing. They'll be gone. You'd have shiny new, big flats on the old forum. I'm telling you. If you think I'm joking, I'm not. That's how bad it is. What's the use of that? Get rid of it. Stems right back to our castle. That photo of the umbrella's Docker's umbrella and me, it is poet. You're right, poet. You're right, Frank. Liverpool Council must have arson department, Tingwall, and yes, Polo. All corruption. Everything. Our lovely Myra. Hiya, Myra. Hi, Frank and friends. It's our lovely Myra. I haven't seen her for yonks. Oh, Myra. So lovely to see you. And seeing you last Friday. I was absolutely delighted, Myra. Keep in touch with us, please, Myra. Please keep in touch, especially on Friday when I'll be giving the comments about Zelensky and that crew. And Johan, Good evening, Frank. Sorry I'm late. Remember when we were talking about Zelensky case a week ago? We certainly, manifested a dark version of it with Lindsey Graham. No tears for that. Well, no tears for him whatsoever. No tears. Something phony about that death, Something phony. And it is the Zelensky case. And Peter says, Johan, we can legitimately sing Ding Dong, the witch is dead. Yes, we can, Peter. What a horrible man. There's horrible people. And Bella says, Liverpool used to have an atmosphere that when you went anywhere, you could feel the history. Now the atmosphere isn't the same. It's a shame, but come and meet me. The atmosphere is okay. Carlyle. Frank, it's always lovely to see you. Mille grazie. Thank you. Thank you, Myra. Myra and I have been friends for years, been following different podcasts, and I'm talking proper podcasters, that is. People who give you the truth, the honest truth about what's going on, rather than the silly propaganda and the Russophobe podcasters. Well, the Western media, just Russophobe. Just Russophobia. I'm retired. Thank you, Myra. I love you, honestly. Hi, Myra, says Bell. And it's out of publication, Polo. Out of publication. Unfortunately. And Barry came over and I said, yeah, it is. And he said, I'll only borrow it. I'll bring it back. So anyway, I was talking to my daughter, and Sophia loves her history, and she's 14. And she said, Dad, why don't you give Sophia, your history book that you got done? And at the same time, Barry said, I'll bring it back. I said, yeah, I'll give it to Sophia. Thanks, Barry. But he hasn't brought it back as yet. He will, though, because he's a nice fella. Brand new. It was brand new. Brand new it was. I gave him. And Myra says, hi, Bella. Hands yellow, heart red. Oh, isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? Well, ladies and gents, you don't mind if I finish, do you? Because I'm roasting here, And Peter, this is important. I watch all those podcasts too, but they are suspicious now. Dialogue works. I cannot watch anymore. Go away. Is that with that name and I forget his name. Dialogues works. I hardly watch them, but I have watched them. I'm not. Brian Belectic's good. The Joran is good. The Joran, they're good. Colonel McGregor's brilliant. John Mearshmeyer. But my favourite intellectual is Jeffrey Sachs. But Scott Ritter I feel sorry for him because he's always getting into trouble with the American law, shall we say. And people are beginning to hate him because he speaks the truth. But what comes out of him is the very same. It's all rhetoric in some aspects, because for years he's saying this is the final straw, this is it, this is, it's all going to be finished. And I've been waiting for 4 years for the war to be over, but Scott's always saying it. I watch a thing called Murat, Murat, Murat. Watch it. It comes on YouTube, and it tells you what's going on in Ukraine on the fighting front. Watch it. Murat, Murat. Jimmy Dore as well. Have a look at Jimmy Dore. He's good. He gives you the and he's a comedian. He's good. Barry, bring the book back and scan it for us. I'll get it done for you. That's no problem. Gan Canny, everyone. Davey, see you soon, mate. Try and come on try and tune in on Thursday nights if you're doing nothing. If you're not swimming where you are. In the wonderful Newcastle waters. Swimming a few miles out and coming back again. Trying to catch some sharks. Oh, fuck off. Look, I can't. Look. Look, see, and it's coming on in Chinese, it's coming on in Spanish, Italian, and hello. Ole, look. Ole. Oh, it's ridiculous. Fucking hell. Got to go through it now. I hate when I don't tell them to, do these add-on things. I don't ask them. Stop it. Nima, that's him, Nima. I don't know where he's from. I don't know where the lad's from, Peter. I haven't a clue. But he lets people talk. And good night, Frank, say Stephen Coughlin and everyone. See you Thursday for the football show. So thanks for tonight again on the history of Liverpool. You'll never walk alone. Peace. Nice ending, though. McGregor, Ambassador Chaz Freeman, top. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Chaz Freeman. Forgot about him. Never forgot, but, you go on naming these people. But yes. Have a look at that Brian Belector. He's good, and he gives you all what's happening on the front with his maps. With his maps, honestly. Well, I think anyway. But you're right about Chaz Freeman, and he hardly ever gets mentioned. But I love Jeffrey Sachs, And he's been coming under criticism. I'll take it back to Frank. One of many, but can't find them. Oh, cheers. Cheers, Barry. I know that, mate. I know you said you bring it back, but I don't like it. And Johan, cheers, legends. Jimmy Dore is decent as well. There you go. Not only me saying it, Johan, the Oracle, is saying it too. And our lovely Myra Page as well. She knows all these people. Some ladies would say you're a gentleman for asking to finish. Says Mr. B. Stop it, you, Mr. B. Mr. B is in my ears. Ritter is CIA. He sticks to the party line, doesn't want to affect his pension. You could say he was in the CIA, but he's a Marine. And he really has a go at the CIA as well, you know, Polo. And don't forget, they arrested him. They set him up years ago about phone calls to a young girl. It was just set up. And he went to jail for it. And this is what you've got to be careful of, even in this country. Even in this country. It's shocking. I can't say a certain country. I can only hint at it. But that's for Friday night. That's for Friday. And it's shocking what's going on. Barry, Frank originally promised it to someone named Chris. Never heard from him since. Yeah, I told you, though, unless you missed it. He actually came down a week after, or was it 2 weeks after him? He said, "Oh, Frank, remember me?" And I went, "Hello." And he paid me for it. I said, "Listen," I said, "a gentleman has got it. I said he wants to scan it." I said, "You'll be all right." I said, "He's bringing it back." Fucking hell. And I went, "Oh, I better tell him the truth." So I brought him in and I said, "Here, mate." So I gave him his tenner back. 10 quid. That's how much it was. Oh. Dave said, "Frank, if you get an email about tin meat, don't open it. It's just spam." That's it. Myra says, how did Liverpool was hot 1900s in industrial age to what it is now? What happened? The thing is, you see, Myra, there's a lot of politics involved in it, sweetheart. It was the art of the country. It really was. It was the heartbeat of trade during the 19th century. And by the time the 20th century came in, we had a government that was totally against Liverpool. And in the 1980s, they wanted to manage decline the great city. But it wasn't just one city picked on. It was what you call a council also, and also a trade union. And they were picked, and she never destroyed Liverpool. She didn't destroy it, but she did destroy the union, which were the coal miners, they were the power workers, and also a council called Lambeth in London. So there's a lot to go into it, to be honest. But Liverpool people are resilient. We're all resilient. And they really thought that we'd become apathetic. A lot of apathy in Liverpool, but it failed. It failed for them miserably because we stuck together. We put arm in arm together. And that's what people should do around the country, especially in today's climate with a two-tier system about policing. It's shocking what's happening. Myra. I hope I tried to explain that. But that was just in a nutshell, to be honest, Myra. Block notifications, else it might ring all night. Do you know what? I can't. I know that. I can't stop it. Nima, an Iranian professor who lives in Brazil, he's happy to make deals with us. And says, go away. Does he? Do you know what? I knew that. I didn't know he was Iranian, you know. Thanks for that, Peter. I didn't know that, mate. Thank you so much. Myra to Johan. I'm not ting-tinging. No, it's not you, Myra. It's not you, sweetheart. Believe me, it's not you. It's a thing on my phone that it's not you, sweetheart. Believe me. I can bring the book back to you, Frank, on Tuesday if you are free. Tomorrow. I won't be in tomorrow. I won't be in tomorrow, unfortunately, unless you bring it in the morning. Barry, unless you bring it in the morning. I've got to be out. I've got to be up at my daughter's mother's, believe it or not. I've got to be up there for 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I'll be phoning Francine in a moment. Only if you come in the morning. If not, can leave it till next week, next Tuesday. And you know, it's okay. Help us finding out who suggested Rubos Cedar. Rubos. I haven't a clue what you are talking about. Franco got to go. This is for you. 2 loyal followers. This passion flows for Liverpool and where the history grows. He breathes a new life into the lost and gone and keeps the city's vanished beauty living on. Again now. How beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Admire to Johan. Bella. Yeah, look at that. They are even there. Davey acknowledged that. Thank you, Davey. Lovely, Bella. I wish they had your address. Myra says to Johan, there are 100 of South African in Liverpool. Of course there is. Of course there is. Peter. My granddad got buried in South Africa after he was hit his head on a ship sailing from. Go away. Go away. Figure now. And Peter. Very good, Bella. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I'll see you on Thursday. Not having no football because of not having nothing. And I might show you some films as well. And no one said about the song after me getting it played for you. So I hope to see you Thursday. And Myra, I'd love you to be there on Friday as well, sweetheart. Thank you. Look at that. Myra. Love you. Cheers. Later. Hope to see you Friday, Myra, sweetheart. And Johan. It was really about me. It was about me, honestly. Poor boy from Liverpool was brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Johan. The only one who said it. Someone said that. It was Frank on the drums. But that's it, you see. And I've got more pictures to show next week. tell you what, when I went to the dentist today, they said, well, wait after your operation. And it's great. The prices are great. So I went to me. So I'll have my tooth back. Do you know what? I brought my tooth up. Remember the first one I went to? First dentist. Oh no, she said, it's not. This is not a jigsaw. The fella said, we can put that back, no problem. So I said, okay. He said, if you want it back, or we can put another one there. See, I know Myra, she'll be looking at me going, did he just smile here with one tooth missing? Can't put me unique smile on anymore. Oh. Text me. Glad you found better dentist. I will do. I've got to phone Francine first about tomorrow. Got hospital appointments all week. Can I drop it off next Tuesday? No, that's great. That's great, Barry. Good man. They were ripping you off, the old ones. Oh, well, I said that though, didn't I? I said that to Con. They give you the price and they go, oh, well, this is all. $2,000. Get out of it. Anyway, they looked after me and I made up, and I'll tell you that later on when I text you. I've got to phone Francine first about tomorrow. And on that wonderful note, you lovely people, thank you so much for tuning in, keeping me company. And especially not just especially Myra, because she's all the way from South Africa and I haven't seen her for yonks for a very long time. And, she's never deserted. She's never deserted. Just like you good people's never deserted either. And on that wonderful note, thank you so much, people. Love yous all. And as the poet says, every time the camera zooms in on Frank's face, I keep thinking we are being hosted by Clark Gable. Clark Gable. I always remember Ali, Mohammed Ali, right? He was doing an interview once, and it was before a fight. He said, people think I'm Dark Gable. Dark Gable. What a wit he was, Ali. Dark Gable. Anyway, dislike Gable, according to the poet. I'll see you Thursday. Thank you so much for keeping me company once again. And let's hope that it'll be great on Thursday, whatever it's going to be. I suppose like football will come in, current affairs, and the life and times of Arthur Askew. Thank you, people. I'm going to go. Ciao. Ciao.